On the high-speed train, a top-tier actor offered 100,000 to switch seats with me with a very rude attitude. My roommate warned me not to be blinded by money. You can't just throw away your dignity for cash, can you? But later, when my mom got sick, I started a crowdfunding campaign and borrowed money from everywhere. My roommate, however, rode off in her sugar daddy's luxury car and mocked me. You don't even have 100,000 yuan. What's the point of living as a poor person? You might as well just die already. She even posted a secretly recorded video of me on the high-speed train online, causing me to be cyberbullied by a celebrity's fans. In the end, I didn't manage to raise a single cent. The day my mother took her last breath in the hospital, I was also stabbed countless times by anti-fans and collapsed in a pool of blood. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I went to another province to participate in a competition. The young actor's manager ordered me to open my payment QR code. Here's 100,000 yuan. We're buying this spot. As my roommate rushed over to stop me, I shouted loudly with a thunderous roar from the heavens. Your humble servant makes a dazzling entrance. Please take your seat slowly, young master. Hey, what are you staring at? The man in front of me glared at me with a look of disdain, while behind him stood a boy who was wrapped up from head to toe, not very old, with his back turned to us. Without time to think, I immediately pulled out my phone and asked, WeChat or Alipay? The man snorted coldly, said, Alipay, and was about to take out his phone to transfer the money to me. My roommate Lily slapped the phone out of my hand. Kathy, what are you doing? How can you take this dirty money? Have you no shame? I crouched down to pick up the phone. Luckily, it still worked, though there was a crack on the screen. The man was infuriated by Lily. He pointed at us and said, Fine. You've got guts. I don't believe I can't buy a seat worth a few $100 with 10,000. With that, he grabbed the guy behind him and started heading toward the seat next to me. The bespectacled man over there had a gleam in his eyes, but he still sat there with restraint, pretending to flip through a magazine. I quickly grabbed the man's hand, who said, I'm not selling. This seat is mine, and I want to sell it, Kathy. Lily's face flushed bright red. What do you mean by that? This is the competition seat assigned by the school. How dare you sell it? If the school leadership finds out, you're finished. I almost laughed in disbelief. Just like in my past life, Lily had been trying to stop me from selling the seat, warning me that if I cared more about money than my dignity, she would make sure the whole school knew how morally corrupt I was. We are the most upright college students. How can we bow down to the rich? Kathy, you excel in both character and academics. You shouldn't let this taint your record. If you take this money, don't blame me for reporting it to the school administration. You're clearly about to receive the national scholarship. I'm only doing this for your own good, Kathy. Amid Lily's mix of threats and persuasion, I found myself wavering. The agent of top-tier actor Oscar grew impatient with waiting and went to buy the seat next to the bespectacled man. But to my surprise, after returning to school from the competition, I received a call from the hospital. They said my mother had fainted on the street and was sent there by a kind-hearted passerby. She had a heart attack and needed an immediate bypass surgery. And the cost of the surgery happened to be exactly 100,000 yuan. I went around borrowing money from relatives and friends, but only managed to get 20,000 yuan. With no other options, I had to start a crowdfunding campaign, hoping to get help from society. Unexpectedly, Lily posted the video of me refusing to sell my seat to Oscar on the high-speed train. I only found out later that Oscar was being followed by anti-fans that day and had to board our train at the last minute, afraid of being photographed again and having his location exposed by anti-fans. His agent spent a fortune to buy seats in the business-class carriage. I became the target of online bullying and doxing. Oscar's fans bombarded me with insulting text messages and phone calls, and even found the fundraising campaign I had set up for my mother and reported it like crazy. Exactly 100,000. How laughable. If she really had no money for her mother's treatment, why didn't she sell her seat to Oscar for 100,000 back then? Liar. Even if she truly has no money for treatment, it's karma who told her not to help our Oscar back then. The platform closed my fundraising application, no matter how I pleaded with the administrators or provided proof. It was useless. I could only watch as my mother's health grew weaker day by day. One day as I walked from school to the hospital in a daze, I happened to see Lily getting into a luxury car with a man in his 50s or 60s. She spotted me and had the car stop right beside me. "Kathy, what's the use of you always being first in exams? In this world, money is what really matters. Poor people like you and your mom should just die early and stop wasting food." That's when I realized she had stopped me from selling the seat out of jealousy. She was jealous that I always came in first, while she was perpetually second. She was jealous that the school had arranged a business class car for me, while she had to ride in an ordinary second-class seat. And she was even more jealous of my incredible luck, effortlessly earning 100,000. And she had been with that old man for so long without getting that much money. In this life, I won't foolishly fall for her tricks again. I turned and gave Lily a cold glance. "You also said this seat was assigned to me by the school. The school wants me as the top student to get the best rest so I can win honors for the school. I think I can rest just fine in the second-class seat so I can sell the seat if I want to. What business is it of yours, the second-place student?" I couldn't be bothered to deal with her anymore and held my phone up to the agent, urging him to scan the code quickly. He felt a bit better seeing us in conflict, but his earlier anger hadn't subsided, so he put on airs. "You want to sell, but I don't want to buy anymore?" Lily sneered and mocked. "Kathy, to describe you in one sentence, the face is gone, but where has it gone?" I said indifferently and replied, "What does it have to do with you? If you're really that idle, go find a factory to work in. Better earn more money to buy your own business class ticket instead of shamelessly lingering here without knowing why." Lily was so furious with me that she stormed off in a huff. After watching her leave, I gestured toward Oscar with an inviting hand. "You came all the way here, bypassing so many people just to try and buy my seat. It must be because this is the best spot, right? This is the innermost seat, the hardest to be photographed." I turned to the agent again and said, "Bro, once you scan the code, I'll be out of your hair in a flash. If we keep this up, more and more people might gather to watch, and it wouldn't be good if they recognize you." Oscar gave a light cough, and the agent conceded, "Fine." Seeing the 100,000 yuan transferred to my account, I immediately grabbed my bag, lowered my head, and headed toward the second-class carriage. I was afraid someone would see me crying. "Mom, in this lifetime, I will definitely make sure you successfully undergo the surgery. We will stay together forever and live well." After getting off the train, the early arriving instructor was waiting for us at the station. As I walked toward the gathering spot, I saw Lily already standing next to the instructor, pointing in my direction and saying something. By the time I arrived, the instructor's face was longer than a shoehorn. First thing he said was an accusation. "I heard you sold the business class seat the school kindly arranged for you, and you sold it for 100,000 yuan. I glanced at Lily, who looked quite pleased with herself. "Yeah, I sold it." This advisor loved taking advantage of students. Whoever gave him gifts got his favor, high scores, and comprehensive evaluations, and a better chance at scholarships. As soon as the semester started, I applied for the financial aid for poor students, so he's always been nitpicking and ignoring me, only remembering me when there's dirty or tiring work to do. If it weren't for my outstanding grades which caught the attention of the school administration and led to me being specially trained for competitions, preventing him from openly giving me low scores and depriving me of scholarships, he would have long ago sold my scholarship spot to another student. In contrast, Lily has a very good relationship with him. Even though her family isn't well off either, the advisor still favors her in every way. He gives her high scores, approves her leave requests without question, lets her join the party in the first batch, and recommends her to professors for competitions. Only later did I find out that they had been involved with each other all along, and all these things were obtained through sleeping their way up. I looked at the two of them pressed tightly together and frowned slightly. Sure enough, the instructor began to target me. "Since it's already sold, there's nothing we can do. The school was just trying to be kind. But we never expected you to be so ungrateful. Forget it. Forget it. Just transfer the money to me and I won't pursue this matter any further." I expected him to give me a hard time, but I never thought he'd be so shameless as to openly extort me. Given his greedy nature, I'm certain he won't transfer the money to the school, but will pocket it himself. The other students who were going to the competition with me were all standing far away, intimidated by the instructor, and with the noisy station, it was impossible to hear what we were saying. But several of them were craning their necks, their faces full of curiosity. "Teacher Lee, you want me to transfer the money to you?" I deliberately raised my voice and shouted. "Why should I? The school booked the ticket for me, so whether I use it or not should be my own decision. Not to mention, I just swapped seats with someone. Even if I didn't take this train, as long as I arrived at the competition on time, it shouldn't be a problem." The instructor's face turned red with anger at me, his voice unconsciously rising. "What do you mean? Are you trying to embezzle this money yourself? Let me tell you, if you dare to embezzle it, then I dare to give you a punishment. The National Scholarship Evaluation is coming up soon. I advise you to think carefully." I glanced around and saw that all the classmates had evasive looks in their eyes, clearly having heard our conversation. So, I pressed on, shouting, "Fine. So, you want me to transfer the money to you, and then you transfer it back to the school? Is that it? That's too troublesome. Transferring back and forth is inconvenient. Just give me the school's account number, and I'll transfer it directly." The instructor's mouth twitched, and he said with great reluctance, "What are you afraid of? Do you think I would embezzle it?" I clapped my hands vigorously and said, "Hey, don't say it, but you really shouldn't say it." At that moment, faint laughter erupted around us. The instructor glanced around and his face instantly turned bright red. "What are you listening to? Does it have anything to do with you? None of you study properly. All you know is gossip." Some classmates curled their lips, but none dared to say anything. The instructor glared at me with hatred again, his finger trembling as he pointed at me. Just as I was starting to think he might have Parkinson's, he finally took a deep breath and said, "Fine, then transfer the money directly to the school's account." He stared at me with a fierce expression, making it clear that if I made things difficult for him, he would definitely return the favor. Lily also snorted loudly beside me. "Hurry up and do it. Let's see what excuse you have left." Well, unfortunately, I actually do. I didn't panic either and directly scanned the code to transfer the money. Then both the instructor and Lily stared in stunned silence at the words "transfer failed" on the phone screen. I theatrically covered my mouth. "Oh my, I'm so sorry. You all know how poor I am. My bank card barely has any transaction history, so the limit is very low," Lily retorted. "But that person clearly scanned your Alipay. Alipay is so unsafe." Of course, I had to transfer it to my bank card right away. The instructor was so furious it seemed like one Buddha had emerged and another ascended to heaven, his entire body trembling with rage. "Hello, Kathy, you're doing just great." A classmate burst out laughing, followed by more and more laughter. The instructor was utterly humiliated. After pointing at me a few more times, he stormed off in a huff. Lily's mouth hung open. She wanted to call the instructor back to deal with me, but she knew there was no reason left. I could only leave behind a harsh remark. "You just wait before chasing after the instructor." Of course, I'll wait. Wait to see how you meet your end." When we arrived at the hotel, the leading school administrator, Dean Smith, was extremely excited to see me and didn't even acknowledge the instructor who approached him. Dean Smith asked me, "Kathy, how are your preparations? Are you confident this time?" He gently patted my shoulder. "BH's team has already arrived. This time, you must bring honor to our school. BH is a university that rivals us, but in recent competitions, they have often outperformed us. The pressure on the school leadership has been growing. In my previous life, I was answering the questions smoothly when suddenly a crumpled paper ball rolled to my feet. I was too focused to notice, and by the time the invigilator picked it up, I was left speechless and unable to defend myself. I was accused of cheating and kicked out of the exam hall. At the time, I thought it was a student from BH who framed me. But after everything that happened later, I knew it had to be Lily who set me up. This competition originally had prize money, too. If I had won first place, even without the 100,000, my mother would have received treatment. Not to mention, because of the cheating accusation, the school felt deeply humiliated. I was not only punished, but also became a target of scorn and ridicule on campus. This is why later on no one was willing to lend me money when I needed it. And when I was cyberbullied by haters, no one stepped forward to say, "She's not that kind of person." Everyone took pleasure in my misfortune, believing that I had brought it all upon myself and deserved every bit of it. Thinking of this, I showed a slightly troubled expression to Dean Smith. He immediately noticed and quickly asked, "What's wrong? Are you facing any difficulties? Tell me, and I'll do my best to help you solve them." I looked at the counselor standing to the side, and he immediately caught on, widening his eyes to warn me not to say anything out of line. I pretended to be startled, shaking my head at Dean Smith and saying it was nothing. It was just a bit overwhelming. Dean Smith was no fool, so of course he noticed. "Tell me exactly what happened. Don't be afraid. Speak up." As he spoke, he also shot a warning glance at the instructor. The instructor shrank back and lowered his head. "Actually, it's nothing much. Someone on the high-speed train wanted to buy my business class seat, and since he seemed really anxious, I sold it to him. The advisor found out from Lily and insisted I transfer the money to him. But Dean, as you know, my family's financial situation isn't great. My bank card has insufficient transaction history and a low limit, so I can't pay it all at once. I'm sorry. I know the seat was bought by the school, and in principle, the money should be returned to the school. I'm really anxious about it. If it's okay, I'll make time to go to the bank later to increase my limit and transfer the money tonight." As I spoke, I nervously rubbed my hands together. It's just that I still have several sets of competition papers to finish, which I originally planned to do tonight. "It's fine, Dean. At worst, I'll just stay up late." After saying that, I even clenched my fist at him, wearing an expression of heroic sacrifice. Dean Smith was horrified. "The competition is tomorrow morning. Why stay up late? What if you don't perform well tomorrow because you didn't rest properly? Listen to me. Do some practice papers and review a bit tonight. Then go to bed early." As he spoke, he turned to the advisor impatiently. "Why are you quibbling over such a small amount of money with the student? The school bought her the seat, so it's hers to do with as she pleases. Look at you. How much psychological burden are you putting on the students now?" The advisor quickly interjected. "That's not just a small amount of money. That's..." Dean Smith interrupted him impatiently. "How much could buying a seat cost?" I said the money goes to Kathy and no one is allowed to bother her over such a trivial matter again. As soon as he finished speaking, he ignored the advisor who still wanted to speak and led the way into the hotel. I gave the instructor a shy smile. "Teacher Lee, you should know that's not what I meant. It was Dean Smith who insisted on giving it to me. After thoroughly infuriating both him and Lily, who had been too scared to speak earlier, I swaggered back to my room. I remembered the competition questions from my previous life quite clearly. So that evening, I specifically searched for the relevant answers to refine them. Don't call me loser since I've been given a second chance at life. I'm naturally going to seize everything within my grasp. If it weren't for the suddenness of my rebirth, I would have liked to memorize a set of lottery numbers for the big jackpot. The next day, I walked confidently to the exam hall and ran into Lily, who was equally self-assured. As soon as she saw me, she immediately gave a contemptuous smile as if victory was already in her grasp. In my previous life, we hadn't yet fallen out at this point. She had always pretended to be a good friend and classmate, staying by my side and encouraging me. They said that in our school, no one but me could compete with BH. It also made me fail to suspect her as the culprit immediately after being slandered. I bore the bad reputation and our school lost to BH once again. Only she, by taking my place at the bottom, managed to win a third-place prize, adding luster to her life's resume. This time we went our separate ways early on. But judging by her demeanor, she's definitely going to make the same move as in the previous life. In the previous life, that paper ball was thrown to me near the end of the exam. First, she didn't know the questions in advance, so she had to read them first and then write down the answers she knew on the paper. Second, she wanted me to fall from the highest point into the abyss just when victory was within reach. That would hurt the most. However, this time the exam had only just passed the halfway mark, and while everyone was still diligently writing, I suddenly stood up. "Teacher, may I hand in my paper?" Everyone in the classroom widened their eyes in disbelief and looked at me. Even the proctor frowned first before asking me, "You're already done?" As he walked toward me, he said with a disapproving look, "I know this exam is quite difficult, But giving up so easily is not the attitude a competitor should have. Huh? You really are done. He was also extremely surprised and couldn't wait to start flipping through my exam paper right then and there. And then, the more he looked, the more shocked he became until finally, after reading it all, he gave me a deep, meaningful glance. Ahem. Since you've actually finished, you may hand it in now. Thank you, teacher. I picked up my things and headed toward the door. As I reached the door, I glanced back at Lily's seat. Her mouth was hanging so wide open it looked like she could fit an entire egg inside. I raised an eyebrow at her smugly, and she glared back at me fiercely. Hey, teacher. That student seems to have another sheet of paper under their test. Everything that followed could only be described as chaotic. Yet, it felt strangely familiar. Except in my previous life, I was the protagonist of that scene. But this time, it was Lily. I watched Lily frantically covering her test paper, her eyes brimming with tears as she begged the teacher not to look, and I let out a deep sigh toward the clear blue sky. I won't let go of anything that's owed to me. As expected, Lily was found guilty of cheating. Dean Smith nearly fainted from anger the moment he received the news. While the advisor turned pale and looked utterly devastated because of her, all of us contestants were checked again for any hidden cheat sheets. I had already finished my exam, so it didn't really affect me. But those who were still writing furiously and were suddenly interrupted were extremely unhappy. The moment Lily was kicked out, she rushed toward me. Kathy, it's all your fault. You set me up. But before her nails could reach me, Dean Smith stepped in and blocked her. Shut up. Aren't you ashamed enough already? Dean Smith? It was her. She's the one who reported me. You cheated first. Kathy was just doing what a good student should do. Is she supposed to cover for you? Lily said tearfully. I didn't cheat. That was a blank piece of paper, and I had just written the answers on it. I was just. Seeing her unable to continue after half a day, Dean Smith sneered and said, no need to say more. Just wait for the school's punishment. After speaking, he glared fiercely at the advisor beside him. Is this the so-called student of excellent character and scholarship you insisted on pushing to participate in the national scholarship selection, squeezing out the previously agreed-upon Kathy? Ha! Truly, excellent character and scholarship indeed. The advisor flusteredly tried to explain. But Dean Smith was already too impatient to listen any further. He waved at me, signaling for us to go first. You came out so early. You gave me a scare. Luckily, I knew the proctor beforehand, and he indicated that you did very well. Come on, tell me what was on the exam. Were the questions easy? While responding to Dean Smith, I was also distracted by the argument going on behind me. Are you insane cheating on such an important exam and getting caught? You've completely humiliated me. Teacher Lee, that's not the case. I just wanted Kathy to. The following words were deliberately lowered by Lily, making them hard to hear clearly. However, the instructor's furious voice grew louder and louder. You think? Now you've been found guilty of cheating. All right, I can't help you this time. You're on your own from now on. Teacher Lee, how can you just abandon me? Have you forgotten what you said back then? After that, they were too far away from me to hear what they were saying, but... Teacher Lee, do you think you can escape so quickly by breaking up? Dream on. Lily and the instructor took a car back to school that night to deal with the cheating incident while the remaining students continued to wait for their results at the hotel. I also wanted to go home immediately and take my mom to the hospital for a checkup, but I knew that if she found out I had given up such an important moment, she would blame herself again for holding me back. So, I forced myself to endure it. But thankfully, the competition results would be announced in 3 days. And in my previous life, my mother collapsed on the street on the 5th day after the exam. During that time, she had learned that I was accused of cheating and was in a very bad mood. She firmly believed that I would never do such a thing and repeatedly reported it to the school authorities. Even though they drove her out time and again, she never gave up. Later, the school authorities said it was useless to look for them as the decision was made by the competition organizing committee. My mother then took a bus to a city intending to appeal to the competition organizing committee. Unfamiliar with the place, she couldn't find where the committee was located. She kept walking and walking on the street until she eventually suffered a heart attack and collapsed by the roadside. I was the one who caused her death. If I hadn't been accused of cheating, perhaps her heart could have held on a little longer. Maybe we would have discovered it earlier during a routine checkup without having to rush into emergency treatment. Maybe by then we would have already saved up enough money to afford her surgery. In this lifetime, she has always lived a hard life for my sake. I will never let her feel heartbroken again. 3 days later, the competition results were announced. Dean Smith went wild, jumping and shouting in the hotel lobby, making passers-by think he was insane. Classmates came to congratulate me one after another. This time, our competition results were still slightly behind BH's. But no one would ever say again that our school couldn't measure up to BH. Although I was the only one from our school to win an award, BH had 5 winners. But I won first place with a near-perfect record-breaking score. Of course, I can't deny that being reborn played a role. But I looked at BH's scores this time, and even with the score from my previous life's paper, I would have still beaten them to take first place. When I stood on stage to give my acceptance speech, I only said one sentence. Growth doesn't have to go against the wind. Just face the sunlight. In this life, I bathe in the sunlight, vanquishing all demons and monsters. When I got home, my mom was making dinner. Sunlight poured through the kitchen window, lazily spilling over her, making everything feel as warm as a dream. I suddenly stopped in my tracks, afraid to move forward, terrified that if I moved, this dream would burst like a bubble. Until my mother urged me, "Aren't you tired after such a long ride? Come wash your hands and eat. I made your favorite sweet and sour ribs." Looking at her familiar smiling face and the shallow dimple on her left cheek, I finally returned to reality. It wasn't a dream. It was the reality I cherished most. "Mom, I missed you so much." I rushed over and hugged her tightly. She chuckled softly. "Oh my sweet girl won first prize and has become even more of a cuddle bug." Tears kept streaming down, yet my heart felt as if it were soaked in warm water, all warm and cozy. Thank the heavens for giving me a second chance. After indulging in a bit more affection with Mom, we sat down together and enjoyed a warm dinner. After the meal, I went to wash the dishes while she tidied up the kitchen. And I suggested that she go to the hospital for a checkup. "What's the point of wasting that money? Mom feels perfectly fine. You've forgotten you have a heart condition. You're supposed to go for your annual checkup every year. But you just refuse to spend the money." I looked at her seriously. Finding and fixing small issues now only costs a little. If you wait until it gets worse, it'll be much more than that. Besides, didn't I tell you I unexpectedly got that 100,000 plus the 30,000 from the competition prize? The school will give me a reward, too. I have money. You'll need a lot of money for your studies in the future. Mom was still hesitant. I declared decisively. Then, your daughter will earn even more. Enough to support both of us. Don't you believe in me? Mom finally gave in. All right. Of course I believe my daughter is the best. Without delay, I dragged Mom to the hospital for a checkup the very next day. I was waiting for her in the hospital corridor, sitting idly and spacing out when I suddenly felt someone staring at me. I looked up and they immediately averted their eyes again, but soon even more people were staring at me, pointing and whispering. "Is that her?" "I think so. Her clothes are exactly the same as in the video. She's quite pretty and innocent looking, and I heard she's a top student, too. No wonder my brother fell for her. If it were me, I'd be a little tempted, too." Huh? What does that mean? I quickly opened the trending topics and soon found my name right there. Hashtag top star Oscars secret girlfriend hashtag academic prodigy Kathy hashtag perfect score Kathy hashtag high speed rail seat sells for 100,000 hashtag. Upon clicking in, I realized that someone had posted a video online of Oscar's agent buying the seat from me. Just by looking at the angle, which was exactly the same as in my previous life, I knew this video was once again released by Lily. However, unlike in my previous life, this time she deliberately edited the clip to show only the part where I asked Oscar to take the seat. At the time, I was solely focused on making sure I got the 100,000 yuan and didn't notice that she hadn't gone far, but had instead sneaked back to record the video. She deliberately adjusted the angle. Although Oscar and I were clearly far apart with no physical contact at all, in the video it looked as if we were pressed tightly together, even holding hands. The video was short, but my face and Oscar's face were clearly visible. For Oscar's fans, even though he was so heavily disguised, they recognized him immediately. What's more, the video had a sensational title, $100,000 for a seat or for chastity. The matter quickly escalated, but took some unexpected turns. Lily's original intention was to imply that Oscar and I had a sexual relationship, and initially the general public was indeed swayed by her narrative. However, Oscar's popularity was simply too high, and he had a group of die-hard fans who refused to believe their idol could be that kind of person. As a result, some people began digging into my background. Soon, all my experiences were dug up and exposed. Not to mention, I had just received an important award and made an appearance in the news. My appearance and my background actually made those fans start shipping us as a couple. They said I was Oscar's hidden girlfriend, that Oscar and I were a perfect match, and that their idol's taste was indeed excellent. They also said that Oscar is a breath of fresh air in the entertainment industry, never fooling around and taking relationships extremely seriously. Even the $100,000 that Oscar's agent gave me was twisted into Oscar wanting to support his girlfriend's education. Excuse me. What's even more ridiculous is that in my previous life, to clear Oscar's image of using money to insult people, his company quickly issued a statement claiming Oscar was being stalked by anti-fans and had no choice but to spend a fortune to buy a seat. But this time, they actually remained silent the whole time and didn't issue any statement at all. So, the netizens became even more convinced that Oscar and I were the real deal. Of course, I wasn't the most speechless one. I think that title should go to Lily. I heard she's been having a really tough time these past few days. Not only was there the competition cheating incident, but classmates also anonymously reported that she had cheated on multiple school exams, and it also implicated the instructor. Someone took photos of Lily entering and leaving a hotel with the instructor. I suspect it was done by a classmate who also participated in the competition. Because many people felt they could have performed better but were disrupted by Lily's cheating incident, resulting in no one else from our school winning an award except me. The school is discussing expelling her, and the instructor is already overwhelmed, facing the risk of being fired. I really didn't expect her to have the leisure to think about framing me at a time like this. Jealousy truly drives people mad, but she probably never imagined things would turn out this way. Not only was I not cyberbullied, but the whole society is now blessing my sweet romance with a top-tier celebrity. I bet she's biting her bedsheet right now, refusing to believe it no matter what. Then let her storm come more fiercely. I opened my phone and found the page I had already searched for, the official website of Sky Group. In her previous life, the old man she latched onto was the general manager of Sky Group. But unfortunately, he was actually just a son-in-law. The real person in charge of Sky Group is his wife. With my current status and conditions, these wealthy people are beyond my reach. I've actually been struggling with how to tell her that Lily is having an affair with her husband. Now looking at Oscar's endorsement advertisement above, I feel that if I go to Sky Group, I might get to see her. Mom's test results turned out to be quite good. Her heart condition still exists, but it's not serious. Indeed, in my previous life, it was because she was running around everywhere trying to clear my name from the cheating scandal that her heart couldn't take it. The doctor also prescribed some medication based on her current condition to address the symptoms, advising her to stay calm and avoid getting overly angry or agitated, as that would prevent any major issues. I finally felt relieved. In this life, my mother and I will definitely live happily together. Since my mother was fine, I rushed to Sky Group that very afternoon. After all, my relationship with Oscar is fake and will soon be announced to the public. I need to use this identity to meet Miss Jane as soon as possible. Just as I expected, the front desk recognized me as soon as I entered the building. 5 minutes later, I was already standing in the chairman's office of Sky Group. "Are you here to explain Oscar's situation with you?" She looked at me strangely. "I don't think I've sent their company a termination letter yet. Have I? And the public opinion isn't bad right now. I actually feel his popularity has increased quite a bit." I shook my head. "I'm not Oscar's girlfriend." "What? But I'm not here to explain that to you. I just came to tell you that your husband is keeping a mistress named Lily outside, and she's my classmate." Her face turned pale, then flushed red with anger. "Miss, Do you know what you're saying? I know, and I have evidence. You dare come here and say these things without evidence. Do you know I could have you arrested for slandering my husband? I nodded. But I still came. I want to tell you I have a grudge against Lily and I don't want her to have it easy, but I won't slander her for things she hasn't done. Besides, I don't want to see the faithful party in a marriage being deceived. After saying that, I walked toward the door. Miss Jane, whether what I said is true or not, you can investigate it. I believe with your ability, uncovering the truth will be a breeze. If I lied to you, you can sue me. I'm Kathy from New York University. Early the next morning, I packed my things and returned to school. Lily was also in the dormitory. As soon as she saw me, she immediately screamed and rushed at me, trying to hit me. Kathy, why are you always so lucky? Why? I grabbed her wrist and stared at her coldly. Because I've been working hard while you were taking crooked paths. You always want to take shortcuts, but shortcuts will lead you to the abyss. This is the retribution you deserve. No. What's wrong with taking shortcuts? What's wrong with wanting to be number one? What's wrong with wanting to be superior to others? I was always the favored child of heaven until I met you. Why are you always better than me? Why does everyone like you more? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a better person. My life hasn't been smooth sailing either. But I wouldn't do these disgusting things out of jealousy. Lily, you've brought this upon yourself. She glared at me viciously. And I stared back at her without backing down. She thought she had already hit rock bottom. But what she didn't know was that an even deeper hell awaited her. I believe Miss Jane won't let her off easily. I'm waiting to see how you die. Just as we were at a standoff, the other two roommates suddenly rushed back into the dorm. Kathy, look at this. When her eyes met Lily's, Coco quietly withdrew her hand and hid the phone she was holding behind her back. Oh, Lily, you're here, too. Doris wasn't so subtle. She had a fiery temper. She snorted coldly at Lily. What's there to be afraid of? Just show it to her. If you've already done it, why be afraid to look? What do you mean? Lily finally caught on. Breaking free from my grip and rushing over to Coco to snatch the phone from her. Watching Lily's face turn a kaleidoscope of colors, I shot Doris a look, silently asking what had happened. Hurry, check the campus website. It's probably going to get taken down soon, but it's absolutely wild. Just as I quickly logged into the campus website and opened the trending post, Lily suddenly let out a piercing scream beside me. It startled me so much I nearly dropped my phone. At that moment, a series of slightly suggestive pictures loaded before my eyes. All of Lily and our advisor in bed together. It's you. It's you, isn't it? Lily charged at me like a mad woman. I was still stunned by how extraordinary Miss Jane's methods were and didn't react in time. Fortunately, Doris had already stepped in front of me and pushed Lily away. Lily, what's gotten into you? Kathy just found out what happened. And do you really think no one knows about your little affair with the advisor? It's just that everyone was afraid to say anything before because of the advisor. Coco pushed up her glasses and whispered in agreement. Yeah, last time we even saw you getting into an old man's car. It's fake. All fake. You're trying to ruin me. You're trying to ruin me. Watching Lily grow increasingly hysterical, I quietly walked over to the door and picked up the broom handle just in case she really lost control. Fortunately, a student from the next room also heard our argument and called the dorm supervisor. The dorm supervisor tried to calm Lily down while pulling her out. Students from other dorm rooms also came out to watch the commotion. Everyone was pointing at her, calling her shameless and ruthless. This time, she had become the dog that everyone wanted to chase away. Just when I thought things were about to settle down, a classmate suddenly screamed, pointing downstairs and urging us to look. I leaned over by the window and looked down, only to see Lily being stopped by two police officers at the entrance of the dormitory building. One of them showed her some kind of document. Lily began struggling fiercely, then broke down in tears, pleading for mercy. But the officers remained stern as they handcuffed her. Everyone was curious about what Lily had done this time to end up being taken to the police station. A particularly curious classmate ran downstairs to inquire and came back to spread the word. She stole something. It's said to be a jewelry bracelet worth several $100,000. The police found the stolen goods right on her hand. That must have been a gift from the old man. I underestimated Miss Jane before. She doesn't make a move often, but when she does, it's a fatal blow with a theft charge involving hundreds of thousands. Not only will Lily lose her student status, but she'll also have to serve several years in prison. Her life is completely ruined. And for someone like her, who desperately clawed her way up to become one of the elite, this is worse than death. The post on the campus network was indeed quickly deleted, but it had already been shared online and sparked quite a bit of attention. I even saw comments like, "Not all students at New York are as kind and outstanding as our goddess Kathy," which gave me goosebumps. The advisor's wife also caused a scene at the school, leading to the advisor being fired. It said that his wife is suing him for divorce and demanding he leave with nothing. Doggy. That's the name I gave him. This child lost both his parents, so giving him a humble name will help him survive. Mia trembled all over, tears streaming down her face. But was Simon grabbed by the shoulders and pulled back? Yes, it's just a name. If he doesn't like it when he grows up, he can change it. Simon quickly tried to make amends and gave a meaningful squeeze on her shoulder. "Oh, why is Mia so worked up?" I smiled and asked. Mia clenched her fists, calming her emotions. "Nothing. I just think the child is quite cute and giving her that name isn't good." "What's wrong with it?" "I think it sounds just fine." After saying that, I brought out a bowl of rice porridge, steaming hot. "Is this what you're feeding the child?" I nodded, picked up a spoon, and scooped out a spoonful. My arms suddenly couldn't move. I realized Mia was holding on to me, her smile uglier than a frown. "Sister-in-law, he's so young. He needs to drink formula." I laughed out loud. "But didn't we all eat like this when we were kids, right, Mom?" My mother-in-law flinched when I called her, nodding with a flickering gaze. The reason was that a few days ago, my little nephew came to visit and I needed to buy formula for him. My mother-in-law said in person, "What's the need for formula? Rice cereal is just as good. Kids these days are just too delicate." I took the advice and stopped Doggy's milk powder. Directly feeding him unpretentious rice cereal instead, Mia could no longer hold back and hurried to check on Simon. Simon gave her a reassuring look. Then he took my bowl. "Let's eat first. The child is still asleep." I nodded, smiling gently and virtuously. At the dinner table, Simon casually brought up, "Darling, how is your family's business doing? It must be profitable, right? When I go to H-City, I can't be without money." I nodded. "Don't worry, I've asked around. At least it can double." His eyes lit up with surprise and he exchanged a glance with Mia. "That's good. Then I won't bring much money to H-City." "Well, if you don't want to bring it, then don't. My dad said at the latest in 3 days. Just go wait at the bank when you arrive." The meal was eaten with everyone having their own thoughts. While I was washing the dishes, Simon took Mia to see the child. Soon I heard the sound of an argument. "Didn't you say she would treat our child well? Look at his body. His neck is all chafed." She sobbed, her voice filled with heartache. Simon frowned deeply. "I'll talk to her again." "No, I'm taking the child with me." "Calm down. If she finds out, how are we going to get the money? This is 20,000 yuan. I couldn't earn this much in a whole year." He knows it's a lot of money, too. In my previous life, I gave him far more than just 20,000 yuan. "Then what do you suggest we do? This is your own flesh and blood. Can you bear to abandon them?" Simon thought for a long time, then leaned close to Mia's ear and whispered something. I raised my hand and knocked on the door. At that moment, the two inside were startled and instantly pulled apart. Mia nervously smoothed her hair and said, "Sister-in-law, there's nothing between me and Simon. Don't misunderstand." Just now, there was a grain of rice stuck in her hair, so I picked it off. Simon followed up with an explanation. I smiled. "What's there to explain? I know you two all too well. I'm just here to see my doggy." I took the child from Mia's arms, bouncing them gently in my hands. It scared Mia, making her face turn pale. "Sister-in-law, be careful." I glanced at her hands, supporting from below, and laughed heartlessly. What's there to be afraid of? A child with no parents is tough as nails. Even if they fall on the ground, they won't break. I raised my hand slightly. Mia burst into terrified sobs. "Sister-in-law, don't. I'm begging you. I stared at her, slightly, frowning. Simon quickly pulled her behind him. Be careful. She's just a child after all. Mia is just too kind-hearted and she's also worried about the child. I watched them with great interest since I haven't completed the adoption procedures yet. If you like her so much, you can take care of her. Mia hesitated for a moment but ultimately shook her head. It's better for you to raise her sister-in-law. I can have my own children. After saying that, she blushed and looked at Simon. I laughed. How would you know you can have kids if you've never had one? Mia's face suddenly changed. And it was Simon who stepped in to defuse the situation. All right. All right. She's perfectly healthy. Of course, she can. I didn't press further. Only when Mia was leaving did I ask again if she wanted the child. The paperwork isn't finished yet. If you want to raise it, there's still time. But she shook her head firmly. Simon frowned as he looked at me. Why do you always ask? Is there a problem? His tone was probing, and I glanced at the small bundle on the bed and smiled. Nothing. I'm just afraid she might regret it. I gave her the chance, but she didn't want it. It turned out that day, Simon and Mia had discussed letting the mother-in-law take the lead in raising the child. After all, he is her own grandson. They thought the mother-in-law would genuinely care for him. Before leaving, Simon reminded me, we may only have this one child in our lifetime, so you must treat him well. If he does well in the future, how could we fare poorly? I nodded eagerly. Don't worry. I plan to hire a nanny specifically to take care of him. Mom is getting older. Just keep an eye on the nanny. Simon felt relieved and reminded me again to remember to wire him the money. After he left, I did go back to my parents' home. My mom also gave me $20,000. The funds have been transferred and are available now. This is for you. Even at the Lincoln family's place, don't make life too hard for yourself. In my previous life, after our family fell into decline, my mother started working from dawn to dusk running a street stall. When I was hospitalized, she took out all her savings. No matter how much it costs, Mom will find a way. She knew Simon had money and went alone to H City to find them. But Simon turned away at the door. On a night of heavy snowfall, she huddled in a corner outside his villa. Mia sent me a video, sneering coldly. Who knows where this beggar came from? Asking for a $100,000 right off the bat. That's almost as much as I spend on cosmetics in a month. Sarah, aren't you going to come take her back? Oh, I forgot. You probably can't get out of bed right now. The video cuts to a scene of Simon busy at his computer wearing a shirt. Mia calls out to him. Simon immediately looks up, his eyes filled with a tenderness I've never seen before. Honey, I've had my eye on a bag recently. But it's a bit expensive. Could you? I'll transfer 10000 to you in a moment. Be good. I'm working right now. You're the best, honey. Mia was overjoyed and hurried down to the first floor. Seeing her son curled up on the sofa playing games, she instructed, chase away the person at the door. It's the new year. Are they deliberately trying to bring bad luck? Tell the security guards not to let just any stray cat or dog in from now on. At the end of the video, Mia's face appeared. She maintained herself so well with hardly a wrinkle in sight, and her face was full of smugness. Sarah, so what if you were born into a good family? Your husband married you but never touched you. And the son I gave birth to was raised by you. Yet he doesn't acknowledge you either. See, heaven is fair. Now your family has fallen. And you've become a stray dog. It hurts so much. I wish I could jump into the video and slap her. Sarah, what's wrong? Mom's startled voice pulled me out of my memories. Only then did I realize I was already in tears. I told my mom about Simon and Mia Schild. She was so angry that she wanted to go confront them immediately. But I held her back. Even if we go to them now, the most that will happen is a divorce. They deceived me first and then tried to use me. Of course, I can't let them off easy. Divorcing him would be too easy. I wiped away my tears and looked at the baby lying beside me. So, you really plan to raise him? Of course. Isn't it up to me how he's raised? Mom held my hand with a pained expression and I patted it reassuringly. Is Aunt's cousin at home? Have him come over tonight. In the evening, my cousin Luke came to the house for dinner and I handed the money to him. My aunt was startled. What are you doing giving him so much money? He's just a reckless spendthrift. Don't let him squander it. She reached out to block me, but I dodged her hand. Amidst Luke's astonished expression, I forced the money into his hand. $20,000 is a huge amount right now, but 20 years from now, it won't be much. In my previous life, Luke was the only one who slipped me money while I was in the hospital. Sis, this is all I have for now. Take it first and I'll figure something out. He works a delivery job after his evening shift and saves all the money he earns for me. That night, my mom waited outside Simon's house all night and didn't even get to see him. It was Luke who brought her back home. That ungrateful bastard. We don't need to beg him. From then on, he worked even harder to earn money. I had Luke take the money to H City. Just follow Simon, and whatever he does, you do the same in secret. Do it better than him and learn as much as you can from him. He blinked his eyes, utterly confused. If I've learned everything, then what about my brother-in-law? Just listen to me. You'll understand once you get there. Although he doesn't have Simon's education, he has a clever mind. I believe Luke will definitely achieve something. Remember, no matter what happens, stay calm. Your task is to make money. He agreed readily, but in less than a month, he had already argued with Simon. Luke didn't come to me. Instead, Simon found me first. He beat around the bush for a long time before finally getting to the point. Hasn't your cousin contacted you? It's absolutely outrageous. No. What's wrong? Nothing. But if he says anything, you mustn't believe him. It's like this. Mia came to H City some time ago, so I helped her out a bit. But then Lukey, forget it. Let's not talk about that. Is everything okay at home? Is the child behaving? The more he didn't want to mention Doggie's name, the more I insisted on saying it. You mean Doggie? He's fine. The nanny is taking care of him and Mom is keeping an eye on the nanny. That's good. That's good. Sarah, I've recently taken a liking to a project and I'm a bit short on cash. When will the money from your family be given to me? After he went to H City, I sent him $1,000. The rest has been delayed with excuses. This time he finally couldn't hold back anymore. Aren't you planning to pay the rest of the money at all? I fiddled with the gold jewelry I had just bought and said helplessly, I really have no choice. My parents won't give me any more money. As you know, my dad's business has been having some difficulties lately, and all the money has been invested. There's nothing I can do if you don't believe me. Heavy breathing could be heard from the other end of the phone. He must have been struggling to hold back. After a long while, he finally spoke sorrowfully. Honey, can you please think of another way? Otherwise, you could borrow some from relatives. I'm really having some issues with my business right now. Consider it a loan from me. Okay, I'll pay you back. My voice trembled with tears as I wiped away non-existent tears. I'm sorry, honey. I'm so useless. But our relatives stopped visiting after our family fell on hard times. If I asked to borrow money now, they definitely won't lend it. Maybe you could have Mom borrow instead. Uncles and aunts on both sides should be able to lend us some. Right? Hearing this, his voice immediately rose with anger. I don't want to borrow it, so forget it. Don't make excuses. Your family has some assets after all, even if the business isn't doing well. There must be something valuable, Sarah. I guess I misjudged you. You kept saying you loved me, but it was all fake. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Mom came down from the second floor upon hearing the noise. Is it Simon again? I heard from your aunt that Luke made a huge amount of money recently. He snatched all of Simon's business. What's your next move? Let Luke give him a taste of something sweet. Mother looked puzzled and I said with a laugh. Feed their appetite a little more so the fall will hurt. I'll go call your aunt right now. Mother turned to leave. And I quickly caught up giving her half of the gold jewelry I had just bought. Luke took my capital when he went to H City and I showed him the way. Therefore, he gives me 30% of all his profits. Even if I just sit at home, I still earn a decent amount every month, but I've been buying gold bars with it and occasionally some gold jewelry. Before divorcing Simon, I won't let my account have any savings. Over the next year, Simon rarely called back. Even when he did call, it was to ask about Doggy. I always said everything was fine. He's a bit thin, but I still bought him plenty of nutritional supplements. Probably his parents have bad genes, passing on that skinny and weak condition. Simon was very angry but couldn't show it too obviously, so every time the call didn't even last a full minute. He doesn't know much about the family situation, but I'm well aware of his recent circumstances. Luca's business is growing bigger and bigger, only giving Simon a small share. He even occasionally makes him suffer a major setback. Simon barely manages to earn a little money, just enough to cover Mia's extravagant spending. My mother-in-law had long been full of resentment. Even her gaze at Doggy turned unfriendly. But before this spring festival, the tone of his phone call changed. "Honey, H-City is too tough to make it in. I plan to return to my hometown. Can't we just live together as a proper family?" I was taken aback and quickly asked, "Why are you suddenly saying something like this?" "Don't even ask. I miss you all. I'll wrap things up here in a few days and come back." I agreed on the surface, then immediately gave Luke a call. "Sorry about that. I went a bit too far this time. I'll be more careful next time. But sis, it's been a year now." He's probably lost most of his pride by this point. Lately, he's been arguing frequently with Mia, so maybe he really does want to settle down and make things work with you. I frowned, growing more and more agitated. My gaze involuntarily drifted toward Jack, who had just emerged from the bathroom. His muscles were perfectly defined and neatly arranged, with water droplets trickling down and landing on his waist and abdomen. "Are you hungry, sis?" When he saw me, he instinctively smiled. The entire room was infected by his smile. Even his voice was pleasant. I instinctively nodded. "Yes, I'm hungry." Jack quickly put down the towel. "I'll go cook right away." I reluctantly withdrew my gaze. Suddenly, I felt that playing with Simon was quite boring. It felt so pointless to waste such beautiful moments on him. "Luke, let's go big this time." "What's wrong? How do you want to deal with him, sis?" My gaze followed Jack as I said calmly, "Just finish him off in one go. Your sister can't wait any longer." After saying that, I hung up the phone, moved closer to the kitchen, and hugged Jack from behind. Her hand had already slipped into his clothes. He could only chuckle helplessly, grabbing her hand. "Sister, you're not divorced yet. You can't. Soon it'll be very quick." Jack is so stingy. He only let me touch a little before kicking me out of the kitchen. I sat bored on the sofa watching him work until the steaming hot food was served on the table. "I'm going to school after I finish eating." "Okay, do you have enough money?" He suddenly looked up, his eyes inexplicably reening. I smiled awkwardly and coaxed him. "I don't mean it like that. I just have a lot of money. Really, a lot of money." He remained sullen for the rest of the time until he closed the door and left. I let out a heavy sigh. My brother is great in every way, except he's too young to understand the value of money. When I met him half a year ago, he was working at a restaurant and got fired for breaking dishes. He stood there tall and lanky like a bamboo pole, yet his back was bent. He kept apologizing over and over, but the boss continued to curse and scold. I couldn't stand watching any longer, so I paid the compensation for him. He insisted on asking for my home address, saying he would pay me back later. Upon learning that he was a sophomore in college, I asked him to be my private tutor. I also wanted to study, believing that being educated would help me earn more money. As time went on, developed other feelings. "If I wanted you to be my boyfriend, how much would it cost?" Once I accidentally blurted out the words that crossed my mind, Jack's whole face flushed red. And he stared at me for a long moment before finally speaking. "You don't need money. Can I be your boyfriend?" I nodded frantically, never imagining such a good thing could exist in this world. But before I could even enjoy the happiness for 2 seconds, he added, "After you get divorced, sis, I'll wait for you." "Wait." I was about to explain, but when I met his innocent eyes, I instantly deflated. How could I let an innocent college student become the other woman? I can't go too far. But I still managed to coax him into occasionally staying over at my place, swearing we'd each have our own room. "Sister." Just as I was thinking, the door suddenly opened. He appeared at the doorway with red-rimmed eyes, staring straight at me. "I truly want to be with you. Not for your money." I nodded blankly. I had actually heard this from Simon before, but somehow I always felt that Jack's words were more genuine. "Is it because he's better looking? You don't believe me?" With a slight frown of his handsome brows, my heart trembled. If we don't get married, it should be fine to just date, right? How could that be? I believe you. I was just thinking about how to handle things with my soon-to-be ex-husband. All right, I'll give you time. I'll come find you again in a month. Are you not coming anymore lately? I hurriedly chased after to ask, oh my God, I thought it was just look, but don't touch. But now I can't even look. Jack turned around with a captivating smile, looking utterly pitiful. I won't come so as not to distract you. No, it's not like that. Before I could speak, he had already disappeared from sight. At that moment, the room phone rang. It was the nanny taking care of Doggy. The child. The child is in the hospital. I froze quickly asking, what's going on? It's not too serious, just a fever. The doctor is already giving in 4. Can you come over? I hung up and headed to the hospital. For over a year, I haven't taken care of Doggy at all in my previous life. I did everything myself only to raise an ungrateful wretch in the end. So this time, I carefully selected a nanny for him. It was quite surprising to me that she lasted a whole year before ending up in the hospital. He's running a dangerously high fever and is in critical condition. The nanny hung her head low, then quickly defended herself. His health is too fragile, and I've been extremely careful in taking care of him. His fever shot up to over 40 degrees in just a short while. There was nothing I could do. On the way here, I had already called my mother-in-law. When she rushed over, I burst into tears. How could this happen? I pay you so much every month, and you let my son end up in the hospital. How exactly have you been taking care of him? Where has all the money I gave you gone? My mother-in-law slammed on the brakes in front of me and quickly pulled the nanny aside. Now is not the time to cry. Let's check on the child first. The doctor came out of the emergency room and asked, who is the child's parent? I am. I'm the child's mother. I'm sorry. We did our best. The child likely has brain damage and needs further observation. I slumped to the ground, muttering to myself, it's true what they say about children without parents. Even with all my careful nurturing, something still went wrong. Are your birth parents calling you back from heaven? My mother-in-law couldn't take it anymore, and shouted loudly, shut your crow mouth. This is my grandson who says he has no father or mother. Everyone looked over. I hid the cold smile at the corner of my mouth, and when I looked up again, my face was filled with shock. What did you say? Wasn't he picked up by my husband? You say he's your grandson then? Whose child is he with my husband? My mother-in-law's face turned pale with fright, but for some reason, his expression immediately turned defiant. It's all because you can't have children. Who else can you blame? My eyes rolled back and I fainted on the spot. My mother happened to arrive right at that moment. She held me in her arms and scolded my mother-in-law. You and your whole family bully my daughter, bringing in an illegitimate child from outside for her to raise. Who knows if it's my daughter who can't have children or if it's your son who's incapable? How can you be so sure this child is truly a descendant of your Lincoln family? Shameless old thing. Raising a shameless son. Doing such heinous deeds. Divorce. I'll take care of my daughter myself. Fine, let's divorce then. A worn-out shoe who can't bear children. I'd like to see who would want you. My mother and mother-in-law parted on bad terms at the hospital and I was taken home by her. Simon Escall came in the evening. You already know. His voice was tense and he hurried to explain. It's not what you think. That was an accident. I had intended to bid her a proper farewell that day, but I ended up drinking too much. Sarah, I still want to make things work with you. I knew that the reason Simon said such things was because he had grown tired of Mia. In this lifetime, Simon's business has had its ups and downs. So, it's only natural that his mood hasn't been the best. Mia was also restless by his side. Even under Luke's deliberate guidance, she almost had an affair. But I'm not a trash collector. Let's get a divorce. My heart was filled with despair. And I only said 3 words. His voice abruptly stopped and it took a long while before he spoke in a low tone. Think carefully. My business has been picking up lately and I'll soon have a large sum of money coming in. By then, even if you want to turn back, I won't give you the chance. And in recent years, your father's business hasn't been doing well, has it, Sarah? I can give you time to think about it. I smiled faintly and spoke calmly. No. When you were with Mia, did you ever think it would come to this? Or are you so sure I can't live without you, Simon? You're too confident. Yuhi was speechless with anger. And I continued, Doggy is still in the hospital receiving treatment. You should come back for a visit. Let's handle the divorce procedures then. Simon slammed the phone down and showed no concern for Doggy. I remembered the Doggy from my previous life. After learning about his true origins, he couldn't wait to take all my money. He went alone to H City. He only left me a note. I went to find my biological parents. It turns out you're not my real mom. No wonder you've been so unkind to me. I asked myself if I had a clear conscience towards him. If not giving him candy to protect his teeth is considered unkind. If forcing him to study for his future is considered unkind, then I suppose I've been good in this lifetime. After all, as long as he didn't cry, the nanny would give him anything to eat. Simon ultimately returned, and with him came Mia. She also looked much older, not as radiant and captivating as she had appeared in the videos from her previous life. When she saw me, she immediately rushed forward to grab and tear at me. You murderer! How dare you harm my son? I took a step back, watching coldly as she was, Simon grabbed by the arm. As for how I treated him, you can ask the neighbors around here. I hired a nanny for thousands of dollars just to take care of him and to make sure the nanny treated him well. I even had my mother-in-law keep an eye on her. If I had known earlier that he was the illegitimate child of you and my husband, I never should have raised him. I also became hysterical. The neighbors all gathered around. Sarah, look on the bright side. Someone like that isn't worth it. You crazy woman. How dare you show up here? You seduced a married man, had a child, and still have the nerve to act righteous. This is a civilized society now. If this were the old days, you'd be thrown in a pig cage for drowning. That's right. Sarah has been so good to that child. Don't you dare slander her. All the neighbors can testify for me. I often bring things back from my parents' home. Doggy is not in good health. So, he needs to eat something nutritious. Yes, he has no father or mother. So, I deliberately gave him a humble name. Children's clothes are so expensive these days. Just this little bit of fabric costs dozens of dollars. Mia's accusation was not believed by anyone. She could only go to the nanny for compensation. Soon, she received an even more devastating truth. Originally, I gave the nanny a monthly salary of $2,000, but my mother-in-law deducted $500 from it. And the nutritional supplements I bought home were all resold by my mother-in-law, Doggy. When Doggy had a fever, she wouldn't even spend money on medicine. She told the nanny to cover the child with a thick quilt. Simon used to go through this when he was little, just sweat it out with a fever. Who knew it would get worse later, even to the point of convulsions? The nanny got scared and only then called me. The nanny and mother-in-law were blaming each other. Mia sat on the ground with a pale face, looking utterly devastated. Such a beautiful scene should definitely involve Simon. I specifically had someone call him over. By the time he arrived at the scene, all he saw was Mia suddenly let out a scream and charged straight toward her mother-in-law. The mother-in-law, who had been struggling with the nanny, suddenly fell to the ground. The back of her head hit the floor and blood soon began to seep out. Mom. Simon quickly walked over and picked her up. The whole commotion ended with the mother-in-law being rushed to the emergency room. I watched as the lights in the emergency room went out and the doctor came out with a dejected expression. Simon stared at Mia with furious eyes. The delayed sense of satisfaction made me laugh involuntarily. As for why Doggy turned out that way in my previous life, my mother-in-law here certainly played a significant role. If it weren't for her always spoiling him and always speaking ill of me in front of him, how could the child have turned out like that? So in this life, I let her raise Doggy herself. The bond between grandparents and grandchildren is just like that between herself and her grandson. She chose herself. Especially when Mia took most of Simon's money. Her resentment grew even stronger. The direct victim then became Doggy. The more chaotic things became, the less Simon wanted a divorce. He stood at my doorstep all night long. After I opened the door, he walked up to me with red eyes. Take good care of your health, and let's have our own child. Okay, wife, let's not get divorced. I have never seen such a gentle Simon, but my heart remained completely unmoved. I only felt annoyed. Recently, when I went to find Jack, He wouldn't see me. He doesn't answer my calls either. I really hope smartphones come out soon so I can send him videos. Sarah, I have money now. I can invest in your dad's business. I'll handle things with Mia properly. Will you forgive me? Simon took my hand and I instinctively pulled it back with the experience from my past life. Few people in the outside world know the true situation of my family. In fact, my dad had already switched tracks long ago. Now he's just waiting for the opportunity, waiting for the moment when the real estate market rises. The family isn't poor either. Over the past year or so, Luke has given me enough money to buy several properties in each city. But Simon knew nothing of this. He only knew that my bank account balance was zero and that I always had to ask my mom for money. Of course, I had no intention of letting him find out. But my dad owes a huge sum of money, 500,000, and we have to sell the family villa. Can you help me? He froze, instinctively speaking out. How did this happen? I sighed. You will help, right? I don't have that much money right now. City business. Simon hesitated and said he'd figure something out after learning about my family's massive debt. He didn't show up for a whole week after that. Then came the agreement to divorce. Luke couldn't help but complain after finding out. What a hypocritical bastard. Last night I had a friend hint to him that there's a younger sister in the family who's interested in him today. He comes to you asking for a divorce. Sis, do you need me to teach him another lesson? Forget it. Let's stick to the original plan. I rejected Luke's proposal. We've already gone this far. That's enough. Pushing any further and risking myself just isn't worth it. The day Simon and I got our divorce certificate. The weather was beautiful. If you ever need any help in the future, don't hesitate to ask. His eyes reened as he tried to reach out and hug me. I immediately dodged away, smiling coldly. Just don't come looking for me. The news of my divorce from Simon was immediately sent to Mia. She immediately came to my door with the child, demanding that he take responsibility. Doggy pulled through, but the fever left him with brain damage. Simon, of course, refused. Mia then held her child and cried at his doorstep. That old hag has ruined my son, and she even laid a hand on her own grandson. Simon has a wife on one side, yet he sweet-talked me into being with him. After having the child, he asked me to leave the baby with his wife to take care of and took me to City H to do business. But what kind of business was it? It always lost money. I lived with him in a basement eating steamed buns and pickles. And now that he has money, he doesn't want his son anymore. And he doesn't want me either. He's just an ungrateful scumbag. As soon as he found out his father-in-law's family was in decline, he immediately divorced his ex-wife and went to chase after other wealthy women. Mia also helped cry on my behalf. Simon became famous because it was too explosive. It even attracted reporters. Afraid that the incident would create a bad impression if it spread to H City, he quickly brought Mia home, but in less than a month, Simon's business in H City ran into trouble. He left in a hurry. She left her mother-in-law in the care of Mia. I also ran into Mia once. When I was in a hurry to meet Jack for a meal, Mia called out to me, "Didn't expect it, did you?" In the end, he still married me. I looked at her with confusion. Such a rotten man. Only you would treasure him, but he's rich. I gave her a meaningful look. You spoke too soon. How could I possibly let Simon have money? I deliberately didn't ask for anything when we got divorced. He still thinks he got a great deal. Little knowing that H City's Luke is already closing in. But Simon held on longer than I had imagined. Half a year later, he returned to his hometown in despair. Less than 3 days after his return, debt collectors visited his home. Mia only then learned that Simon had accumulated an enormous amount of debt. At that moment, I was lying on Jack's abs watching a show. When can I take you to meet my classmates? I froze for a moment, pretending not to hear, but he suddenly turned off the TV, his large hand cupping my face. Will you spend my birthday with me the day after tomorrow? Jack's face showed a hint of stubbornness. I couldn't bear to refuse. All right, just the two of us. I'll cook for you. A flicker of disappointment passed through his eyes, but he ultimately forced a happy nod. That night, Jack awkwardly did not stay over, but unexpectedly, Simon actually found his way here. Sarah, I've lost everything. His voice was the corners of his eyes were red, and a strong smell of alcohol wafted over. I instinctively tried to close the door, but he was quicker and blocked it. Are you ignoring me, too? I sighed. We're already divorced. I regret it. I was so angry I laughed right at him. Do you think marriage is a game that you can regret it whenever you want? Simon stared at me intently. The emotion in his eyes too intense to meet directly. The person in H City is Luke, your cousin. I froze, not expecting him to have found out after all. Sarah, I had a dream recently where we were living a different life. In the dream, you died and I deeply regretted it. I never married Mia until my death and I didn't leave the family fortune to her son either. Do you think it's possible that was my past life? His gaze fixed on me, not missing any of my expressions. I remained calm and composed. You're overthinking it. It was just a dream. How could a dream feel so real? And besides, did you already know? It's too much of a coincidence, Luke. Every business he's involved in aligns perfectly with mine. But the problem is he has massive capital and directly cuts off my resources. For over a year now, I've been running around in circles because of him. Sarah, in your previous life after you passed away, it was Luke who arranged your burial. There's no point in saying more. Simon is convinced I've been reborn. But so what? He's already lost now. I took a step back and released the doorknob. If that's really the case, then I'll thank him later. You're still playing dumb. He grabbed my shoulders abruptly and pulled me into his embrace. As long as you remarry me, I'll forgive you. Let's wipe the slate clean and start over. Okay. In my past life, I didn't know. I didn't know you were sick. It was all Mia who caused trouble in between. I never thought about divorcing you, nor did I ever wish for your death. Ridiculous, Simon. A real man has the courage to take responsibility for his actions. Are you really completely unaware of those matters? His body stiffened, and he pulled me out of his embrace, staring straight at my face. So, you really knew about the past life all along? I didn't want to argue with him. Go back. I've already called the police. You. He looked pained. Is there really no chance at all? I ignored him, but I never expected him to kidnap me directly. When I woke up, I was in an abandoned factory. Simon stood not far away, staring at me with a complicated gaze. The name Doggy was also deliberately chosen by you. You deliberately handed him over to my mom and the nanny because you knew they wouldn't take good care of him. You sent me to H City and gave me very little money because you wanted me to scout the way for Luke. Since that's the case, Luke's earnings should also have a share for me. His face turned ferocious as he suddenly leaned in close to me. Sarah, do you know what I thought right after I woke up from that dream? I wanted to make it up to you properly, but what about you? You actually treated me like this. My mother still gets headaches from time to time, and my son has become a fool. Mia stole the only money I had and left me with a huge mess. But you are the one to blame for all of this. I looked at him coldly. What exactly do you want? Simon smiled and said, back when we divorced, you must have transferred all your assets, didn't you? Luke treated you so well. It's impossible he didn't leave you anything. That's right. In my previous life, I only occasionally helped Luke, and he knew to repay the kindness. But you took my money to live it up in H City, supporting women, and even made me raise your illegitimate child. Finally, you even want to take my life. Who exactly is the ungrateful one? Simon shrugged indifferently. Give me money. I want Luke's half of the property earned in H City. Don't play games. I know how much there can be. You should say that to Luke. Of course, you go tell him. As he spoke, Simon brought his phone in front of me. He dialed Luke's phone number. As he looked at me with anticipation, I stared back at him as if he were a fool. Do you really think I didn't have any precautions? What do you mean? As soon as his words fell, the police broke into the factory. Simon was quickly subdued. The charges of kidnapping and abandonment landed him in prison. I heard he was sentenced to 10 years. As for his mentally disabled son, whom he had thrown into a garbage dump, was found already dead. I saw Mia again in H City. By then, I was already a college student. While driving past a bar, I saw her stumbling out completely drunk. Beside her was a man with a bloated face and fat belly. His hand already inside her clothes. Mia didn't feel the slightest bit of it, smiling as she reached out her hand. The man gave her $100. She quickly stuffed it into her pocket and followed him into the taxi. What are you looking at? Jack looked in the direction of my gaze. I smiled and shook my head. Jack came to visit me during the holiday. It had been a long time since he last mentioned taking me to meet his friends. He never took the initiative to meet my friends either. We tacitly maintained our relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend, but never interfered too much in each other's lives. It wasn't until after he graduated that, with my guidance, he started his own company. Later, his career grew bigger and bigger to the extent that even Luke and my father can't compare. He no longer needs me to give him money. In fact, every time we meet, he brings me expensive jewelry. After sending him home, he stood there without moving. Sarah, I'm almost 30. I froze for a moment, speechless. He took 2 steps forward and pulled me into his arms. It's been almost 10 years. When are you going to make an honest man out of me? My heart skipped a beat. He's so outstanding. I've always assumed he had more than just me. I even kept wondering when he would bring up breaking up. So, I waited and I sank deeper. But I never expected to wait for a diamond ring and his desire to take things further. Yet, I still didn't agree. Let's skip the marriage. But we can live together. A lifetime is too long. I no longer want marriage unless he gives me all his money. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.